Hi, this is your boy Terry. Welcome to my video. My username across the internet is surpassing Google, and I'm a legitimate illiterate. And this is going to be a short video where I will be looking at a case study. We will apply legitimate illiteracy in solving an issue, and let's see how legitimate illiteracy fares. Yes, the biggest of issues, one of the renownedest of issues that the world sought to tackle. We will apply legitimate illiteracy, the first, simplest, obviousest methods for solutions, and see how it fares, in comparison to the application of the nth complexest solutions. Anyway, this will be a fun, perhaps analytical, rhetorical video altogether. If you don't know what legitimate illiteracy is an entire curriculum, an entire school in reality that anyone can school in, regardless of their levels of literacy, status, just courtesy of the fact that they are human. Legitimate illiteracy will reveal the content contained in the no books. By no books, I refer to NO-BOOKS. This knowledge is only found in the down-to-earth spaces of Mama Earth. It is knowledge that is tangible when it comes to human evolution. Many times today we sought knowledge out in outer space. Most of the book knowledge is knowledge meant for outer space. While it is of essence, it is also important to complement such knowledge with legitimate illiteracy. This will give you a more spanless view of the state of the world, help you identify your place in it, help you identify as well the real issues with the world, so that you can tackle it with the exact right tissue. Yes, knowledge in today's world is partial for the most part. We live in a painted world. Yes, there's a documentation of the books, but there needs to be a revelation of the no books, much of which isn't documented. One reason being that words aren't sufficient when it comes to highlighting the rare intel contained in the down-to-earth spaces of Mama Earth. You'll understand this, you'll get the gist as we take on this case study. At the very end of this case study, you'll understand better what legitimate illiteracy is. So, let's go. There's so much noise where I am. I'm just on the road and decided to sit somewhere for this video. So, if you're listening to me, apply of your spirit. Consciously evolve your human virtues as you listen to me, in the face of the discomfort, the external noises, the technicalities, the grammar flaws and all that. Just sift of my nonsense to find sense therein. Apply your spirit, connect with me on a spiritual level, and you'll get the gist. So let's go. What is something that is a ginormous issues by world standards? It's tears. Fixing the tears. There are entire curriculums, created by the world to propagate the terminology pursuit of happiness, in a bid to eradicate or eliminate tears. Tears that in today's world is very associated with sadness, discomfort, etc. Another thing that's very much tied to tears is what the world calls poverty. In fact, entire nations are labeled poor, developing, third world. And we're talking nations constituting of humans who in reality were created in the image of an invincible and supreme being, to have in subjection the fishes of the sea, the flying creatures of the heavens, with brains powerful as supercomputers, with the five senses. Yes, entire nations of these humans are called poor, labeled poor, developing, third world. Now, that aside, the reason I'm highlighting these things is to highlight that we live in a painted world, one where information regarding the true state of the world is blurred with some paint. In this case study, we will attempt to remove some of the paint and just simplify what the reality is, because many things are too simple. Entire nations go on escapades, meetings, conferences, summits to solve these things, and these things are very simple to solve. It starts with identifying the true state of the world, removing some of the paint, establishing the true state of the world, and the solutions will be profoundly imminent, visible. So let's go. So let's assume that tears is what it is that the world wants to fix, abate, eliminate. Let's assume that that is the critical issue affecting the world. Let's assume that poverty is the critical issue affecting the world. But let's not sway away from the word teardrops so that we can keep this case study simple. So let's see, teardrops. Now, what's the world method for abating tears? Some of it is outer space methods, attempting the end complexest solutions first. However, before you get to the end complexest solutions, there are many simplest, obvious solutions that humans can undertake, humanly exhaustible routes, possible to take. These routes are labeled nonsense by world standards, so that the narrative that you have to go into outer space in finding answers is propagated. Anyway, that aside. Now, what's the world method for abating tears? One is education. You have to undertake years of secular education, then perhaps go on to climbing a career ladder. In fact, a rat race. But looking at it, isn't the dynamic of that model created to fail? Isn't it an irony where humans are supposed to be in a rat race? Food for thought. Humans in a bid to chasing high after high. However, doing this in a rat race, isn't that ironical? But that is the irony that permeates the world today. Now, let's not talk about the world. We are just building basis for this discussion so that you better gain insight into the beauty of legitimate literacy. According to legitimate literacy, many of the answers pertaining to human breakthrough, many of the answers are just very simple. Very simple. It's right there in front of us in the very down-to-earth spaces of Mama Earth. And we will tackle this. Let's go. So, tears. When you look at tears, how about the first, simplest, obvious solution? Fixing the tears with the tears. Looks funny, but let's create a more comedy. Assuming you shed tears today, and amongst you want to cure your tears. You no longer want to cry again. You want to fix everything that's brought about those tears. How about you simply cry into a bottle and drink the tears? Now, it's an humanly exhaustible endeavor, but of course it will appear weird, nonsensical, basically. However, looking at things critically, if you sift of nonsense, you will find sense therein. So that's where it all started for this case study. being a humanly accessible endeavor, I did not classify it as weird so that we can build on it. So I started there, fixing the tears with some teardrops. Is it even possible? Has it been attempted? Is it a human exhaustible undertaking? Is it among the first, simplest, obvious solution? Before jumping steps onto the end complexer solution, have we exhausted the first, simplest, obvious solutions? Attempting them first, then transitioning further. So I started there and look at it critically. Is it possible to fix the tears with the tears? And I say yes, and it's very, 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 very simple. And you'll identify the beauty of legitimate literacy as you listen. So let's fix the tears with the tears. First of all, what if we dispel the world-renowned notion that tears is mostly associated with sadness, with things of discomfort? What if we start there? Instead of that, make tears an emblem of human. Associate it with breakthrough. Associate it with the byproduct, term it the byproduct of humans consciously evolving. What if we say that en route breakthrough, there are bound to be many tears, whether happy, sad, or unfelt tears? Now, what if we went a step further and decide to reward these tears? Aren't we already fixing the tears with the tears? Is it possible to reward each tear? However, tears as a byproduct of conscious human evolution. We will tackle it further. This is very, very, very simple, and it will give you insight into the true state of the world. A broader perception on the true state of the world, and that's where many of the answers lie. Now let's dispel now that we've dispelled the notion that tears is associated with sadness or discomfort, perhaps we're also making negligible the unbeauty. No. Let's say unbeauty. Perhaps we're making negligible the unbeauty of sorrow or discomfort. As mentioned earlier, what is propagated by today's world is pursuit of happiness. However, there's context to that, because it also underlyingly there is running away from sorrow, discomfort, to pursue happiness instead. I say world standards of happiness because many things in today's world that appear as happiness isn't happiness. Some people who declare themselves as happy in reality are sad. And perhaps the definition of sadness is painted as well, because many times things that constitute sadness in reality may be just challenges, avenues to further evolve, to further explore our human, to further exercise our human virtues. Perhaps that is the case. For example, whoever may have discovered gravity did not always go after satisfying the impulse of hunger. At times he has decided to attempt starvation, undergo the so-called discomfort for the sake of pondering, wondering what made the mango fall, thereafter discovering gravity. Sadness, or so-called sadness, is very much translatable into things of good. more so, sadness gives you an avenue to further mine of your human or evolve it. In the face of discomfort, let's say someone slaps you, of course there's discomfort there. While there's the reactionary impulse to retaliate so as to get even and pursue happiness, perhaps there's also happiness in turning the other cheek or walking away, staring evolution in your human avenues enabling you to exercise your self-sacrifice, your mentality, virtues of human that is valuable to your long-term happiness. Now, let's not build on this too much. I just want to keep the video short. This is rhetorical altogether. I want you to apply your spirit and being and just pay attention. Let's go to resolution straight up. This is more to highlight the beauty of legitimate illiteracy and to highlight that many of the world renowned issues that bring about even as much as tension among nations, very, very simple to solve. So let's assume the solution now is to reward proof of tears. How do we reward proof of tears then? How do we proof the tears? And isn't that very simple as well? The moment you tie tears to breakthrough, the moment you make tears an emblem of human, consider it the byproduct of mining or evolving the human, then proof of tears becomes very simple. Let's see how so, and I'll tell you what I've done to proof the tears. Now, what is something that humans do every day? Humans do many things, of course. Many human activities, from going to work, from waking up in the morning to, try hot coffee, from having a bath, from traveling from place to place, from content curation. Some people dare to dream and want to evolve their dream into reality. These are human activities and basically something that humans will always do. Now, how many human activities do we do in today's world in a bid to consciously evolve? Especially in today's era, human activities are becoming ordinary. Mostly activities to enable you catch a fancy merriment. For example, YouTube. People go on YouTube every day, watch music videos and all that, in a bid to catch a groove, to gain entertainment. However, in the midst of all this entertainment, isn't it possible that entertainment becomes directional, applicable towards the evolution of the human? Of course it is. For example, music. How many types of emotions can you draw from music? How many people attempt to draw inspiration from music? How many people ponder on the essence of music in a bid to exercise their empathy, in a bid to pay attention, invested in attention in another human, all for the sake of further evolving? How many people apply their spirit as they listen to music till they are retold of the creator, an invincible creator who created everything good? How many times do we listen to music in a bid to explore our sense of hearing in newer ways? There's tons of ways to apply music towards evolution in human. Of course, where humans continue to evolve, breakthrough comes about. Now, of course, en route breakthrough, when you undertake the route of evolving in your human, there is bound to be many tears, happy, sad, or unfelt tears, and many other breeds of tears which I'll reveal in another video. That's where also some of the answers lie, in breeds of tears. What constitutes tears of joy by world standards today isn't entirely tears of joy in many cases. When someone has been pummeled, on purpose, only to bring him a glimmer of joy, and then he ends up tearing up. You cannot call that tears of joy. It's another breed of tears. Perhaps a notch higher than tears of joy, or perhaps a notch lower than tears of joy. I apologize for that dog barking. Now let's go on to solutions. All I did in terms of solutions is try to proof the tears, and after you can proof the tears, reward the tears. As difficult as 1, 2, 3. Simply create innovations. I call them down-to-earth innovations because all my innovations make use of down-to-earth paradigms, are guarded as well by legitimate illiteracy. In conjunction with the existent knowledge, I complement that knowledge with knowledge from the notebooks, and then use that to evolve the enterprise model behind all my innovations. So let's call these innovations legitimate illiteracy, because according to legitimate illiteracy as well, bringing about solutions is a better route to take, is one that is geared towards playing out a curriculum instead of being frontal. The world isn't about, there are bigger things than good or bad. So instead of being frontal, telling people to adjust their methods or all that, why not play out an entire curriculum that adjusts mentality using activities that humans undertake per day? Why not you bring all these irregular activities to more testimonial, directional use towards human evolution using innovation? So that was the route. Create innovation that incites human to use regular human activities that they are familiar with, for the sake of their evolution. Now, speaking of evolution, remember that we were made in Jehovah's image. The truth is innate to us. Even when we're a child, we had many amazing human virtues intact, which we tend to lose over the course of time as we grow and begin to inculcate the curriculums posed to us by the world. Our sense of justice, it exists in children. Sense of curiosity, wanting to explore, wanting to ponder, ask questions. According to children, nations are merely locations. We lose all that. So simply create innovations that stirs us or incites us to return towards the image of the Creator. When we return towards the image of the Creator, many things will be fixed. Our value as humans returned, our invincibility restored, our shine, sense of ownership restored, our sense of morality restored, mentality will be huge. So, but in reality, to accomplish this, there will be tears, happy, sad, or unfelt tears. However, tie tears not to sadness but to breakthrough. Make tears something celebratory and reward it. So create innovations that play out this model, and that's what I did. It's very simple. First you have to prove the tears, then reward the tears. Then many of the issues will be solved. You would have ended up fixing the tears with teardrops. So I started out by looking at the world of today. What appeals to them? What human activity is very powerful, not only in terms of reaching the entire globe, but also in terms of its application towards our evolution. And one such thing is content creation and content curation. Words still rule the world. Let there be light, and there was light. Looking at the globe, there is nothing no concept, no innovation, nothing that doesn't involve documentation and words. So words still rule the world. Superpowers of the world today are the likes of Google. What exactly do they do? They create a database containing words. Words contain many things more than letters. It contains excerpts of humans are unordinary, spiritual, very powerful, and there's evidence, even though they don't know these things. The collection of all these elements of humans into a pot. They stir this pot, process it, define it and redefine it, establish, get to know humans. Thus they can influence humans, hold humans accountable. And then revenue begins to enter their pockets. Evidence that where humans take control of their mind, take charge of their evolution, money itself becomes the smaller things in society, begins to seek them. So where poverty was seen to be the issue by world standards, poverty, the resolution to that is as difficult as 1, 2, 3. All it takes is humans evolving. Where human evolves, they attain their shine. Values return to humans, money loses value, becomes the smaller things. Humans begin to have essence, amongst one another. Then resolution comes about, even when it comes to money. Many solutions are easy. So my first innovation was ULOGs. Very simple concept. Simply a form of content where U stands for you. 2, the essence for this, the dynamics behind this is give more testimonial essence to the human activity surrounding content creation and content curation, so that content is no longer ordinary. It becomes also an activity that stirs the evolution of human. So we say ULOGs, a form of content where you stands for you, a form of content that is created fresh at every instance, covering any niche or industry without resourcing from the internet. Very simple. But again, many of the answers, even to the most complexest looking issues, is in the first, simplest, obviousest solutions. Now, what exactly happens when you ULOG? Recall that I said that a ULOG is created fresh at every instance. It means that a ULOG created today was not in existence anywhere online yesterday. And same applies to a ULOG created tomorrow. Now, in a ULOG, you are allowed to be untalented. You are allowed every freedom, as long as you're in a state of evolution. You're allowed to relegate reservations to attempt out of the boxness. Now, if you're to create an image, you have to create it yourself without researching from the internet. You have to undertake the creation of that image. Whether even if you don't know Photoshop, you are allowed to use paint and produce a caricature of your image, as long as you are consciously evolving. Good enough. So you're not you're not pummeled because you are imperfect, as is seen with a blog. Not everyone can become a blogger. We remove all barriers as well from content creation and content curation, so that this human activity is open to anyone. Blogging and vlogging doesn't exactly do so. It doesn't consider anyone. There are barriers to entry when it comes to blogging. So it all starts there. Open the activity called content curation and content creation to anyone. Where some people don't feel, of course there are people today that don't create content just solely because they don't see themselves as befitting as bloggers. Some don't, feel that they have the pouty lips or the fancy camera required for a vlog. However, a vlog allows everything that constitutes you. practically celebrates it, attempts to reward it, with the primary reward being your conscious evolution without reservation, without being barriered by world standards of perfection or excellence, for the sake of your evolution. Now, where everyone eulogs, there's also a barrier removed from content curation, a revelation of knowledge. How so? For example, when you eulog about chemistry, not everyone is a chemist or knows anything about chemistry. Now, when you blog about chemistry, you're likely to reference existing material from the internet. You're likely to have to carry out, to relay facts. A eulog allows you to be entirely free as long as you're consciously evolving. Create even new chemicals born of your own imagination. You're allowed to do that in a eulog. You're allowed to relate even your flaws, your ordeals as you understudy chemistry. Yes, your daily affairs. Suddenly, your content becomes curatable by anyone, because at the very least, anyone can relate to the you aspect, the human aspect, even if they did not know chemistry. So that's where curation comes about. They can share your content now, they can read your content, they can develop in their confidence in relation to chemistry, because now they see, oh, chemists are not gods, they are humans. But today humans, they attain a level of God as they progress in their knowledge. That's why knowledge is kept complex, so people can maintain the status of God, become the sought after, the reference, the standard for knowledge. So knowledge, which in reality is very simple, is made complex, encoded, to create barriers from anyone. So that amongst other things, knowledge becomes sellable. Every human becomes a client. Where human becomes a client, music thrives. Money has all the value. Further value is removed from humans, given to inanimate, superficial things like money. So much so that humans begin to sought these things. So much so that people begin to find answers in outer space. So much so that people begin to lose confidence in their value as humans, because they become measured courtesy of their lack of so-called secular knowledge. Eulogging is one human activity that fixes all this. Now, when you have to create content that is entirely excerpts of you each time, no one says you shouldn't eulog, you shouldn't blog, you shouldn't vlog, but at the very least adopt a culture, even if once a day, where you create something that is entirely excerpts of you. Not only do we have a new internet filled with humans, surpassing Google process, but you begin to tap into your shine. Most of what is missing in today's world is our shine, the human shine, pummeled into redundancy as a result of circumstance, sometimes pummeled into redundancy because of curriculums that constitute the standard for excellence in today's world. We become shy. There's so much aspects to us that we cannot reveal, which exists, but we cannot reveal because it may be labeled or tagged as nonsense by today's standards. Now, we keep these things in our head, even though this knowledge may be relevant to the collective human evolution. And sometimes they die generation after generation, and so much of this knowledge stay undocumented, some of which I'm revealing now as a legitimate illiterate. That's what I refer to as knowledge in the notebooks, from the notebooks. So, yes, these things will be revealed via eulogging, where everyone becomes a eulogger, starts to eulog. Then we have a new internet, one where humans have value, more so than bots, more so than popular people and all that. But like I said, the bigger picture is everyone begins to tap into their shine. Tap into their invincibility, their fire, their spirit. You know, begin to adopt an ownership mentality, a creator mentality. When you start to become a creator, and we have many creators, we begin to have many more generation fixers. You know, and when you have an ownership mentality, you are convinced about your value. You know, value that is made up of the substance of your human, then you'll be able to take steps that were not humanly possible before. You know, you'll be able to walk into a Ferrari without a dime and ask for a Ferrari. And who says that you may not walk out with a Ferrari? You may be able to go into a bank and ask the bank manager to give you the key to his vault. Because as you tap into your shine, adopt a creator and ownership mentality, you'll begin to create. You know, you'll begin to ponder, wonder, you'll begin to care about the world, generations yet born, and you'll begin to innovate. I'm testimonies to this. You know, innovate your own innovations that do not exist on the internet. The world will begin to find new innovations instead of recycled innovations. Innovations that are simply a reference to previous innovations. The world will begin to find more light. Tunnels will begin to find more light. When tunnels begin to find more light, not any longer will anyone have to wait till the end of the tunnel to find light. Recall a world popular notion: wait till the end of the tunnel to find light. That is narrated in a cycle so that humans embrace the tunnels and begin to believe in lights after the tunnel. All this is fixable, you know, and ULOG can spark the motion, because amongst everything, through the search engines, you'll be able to reach the entire globe. You know, fill the current search engines with ULOGs, and in the long run create an internet made up of information that is dynamic, ever refreshing. You know, this way there's more revelation of knowledge compared to an internet where knowledge is mostly static, considered relevant due to the popularity it has gained over time. You know, static, recycled. Most of the information of Google is recycled, and it's no coincidence. You know, Google is filled with blogs and vlogs, you know, which need to uphold a certain standard of perfection. You know, so bots begin to hold more sway. You know, people that have been relevant due to popularity over time remain there, become the reference, and continue on popular. And so the search engines, yes, so surpassing Google comes in. Anyway, that's the first innovation. That innovation is building on ulogs.org. Now, there's something missing. Because, like I said, as you begin to ulog, you begin to tap into your shine, you'll become an owner. You know, you'll become a creator. You'll want to innovate. You'll begin to dream. You'll begin to relieve redundant dreams. When that stage happens, we are brought to another very paramount human activity that is essential for breakthrough, and it is dream building. But when you want to build your dream, especially in today's world, there are so many barriers. Besides barriers to knowledge, there is the so-called money barrier. Everything is tied to money. Oh, I can't ask the price of a Ferrari because I don't have a dime. When is it going to be? I can ask the price of a Ferrari because I'm a human. A human should hold some value. When is a name going to have value? And not a name that is backed by connections and, you know, superficial money and all that. You see? So, when it's time to build your dream, how do we remove all barriers to entry from the world of dream building? And that's why next I created Steam Gigs, to give more testimonial essence to the human activity called dream building, to where dream building becomes an avenue to further evolve in our human. So I created a platform called Steam Gigs. All my platforms are open source and on blockchain technology. because blockchain technology is a beautiful technology. It further helps remove barriers to entry, brings about decentralization when it comes to data collection and all that. So, steamgigs.org. All the links to this are going to be underneath in the description. They're still undergoing building. But what is important is the enterprise model, the paradigms guarding the dynamics of this platform is where all the value lies. The dynamics of the algorithms, is where all the value lies, not in the interface. So, created SteamGigs. SteamGigs is very simple. We all know of a freelancing marketplace today. It's an entire, very giant industry, but there's a way to make it great, valuable towards further removing barriers to entry from everything good, so that everything good becomes available to anyone. So what are some of the things that are barriers today? Money, like I mentioned. But in a world where humans begin to have value, money becomes the smaller thing. So one of the paradigms behind these platforms of mine is returning value to human. Take value away from money, return it to human, then money becomes the smaller things. As difficult as 1, 2, 3. So how do we do that with SteamGigs? Very easy. Okay, create a freelancing marketplace on a blockchain, but make it grander by making it about dream building. Where people, and it emanates broader talents. Restore value to words like untalented. By today's standards, people are considered untalented. But isn't there talent in untalented? When someone is told, no, you say off key, I apologize for that. And the person is persistently saying yes, trying to exert themselves, hone their expertise non-stop till, whether they're told no many times. Isn't that talent? Isn't the human virtue evident there in the form of passion, talent? Isn't their evolution talent? Their attempt at out of the boxness, isn't that talent? And whether these things aren't talent, aren't these things translatable into talent? And what exactly is talent? That it becomes God in today's world. Everything is about talent, climbing a career ladder, to attain a measure of excellence. Are humans entirely about excellence? Aren't we imperfect? But the world is novice to the complexest tenets of real life. That's why this revelation is of essence. And my revelation transcends just, legitimate illiteracy and videos like this. I'm also staring for down-to-earth innovations to play out a curriculum that humans can relate to. So back to the freelancing platform. We have established some of the barriers. Talent is a barrier, money is a barrier. So just open the platform to anyone by allowing for experts and non-experts to play a role in the freelancing industry. Non-experts are allowed to offer their services even for free or at a lower cost in a bid to hone this expertise while rendering a service. This way they can evolve. This way money becomes the smaller things, because suddenly we have free gigs available. It's a rarity to find a platform today where you can have your graphic design or your code done for free. Is it possible? Yes. Simply relegate the place of money in society, return value to humans, and yes, it's possible. Is it possible to exchange a service for service like was done with evidence in the past, trade by barter? Yes. Is it applicable in today's world? No, because humans lose value. Restore all that. So suddenly you don't have money, but it's not that's not the cap for your possibility of bringing your dream to reality, because now you can go on SteamGigs, and if you can offer graphic design, perhaps someone will code for you. Now this brings about a culture that emanates broader talents. That's a powerful word. That's among the only things that don't exist today. Now, where we build an entire social media platform, around freelancing that emanates broader talents, then there will be people that will be ready to help you build your dream, even for free, for the sake of being part of historical history, for the sake of generations yet born. Humans have this, beautiful virtues innate to them. We just need to resuscitate it, and that's where mentality adjustment is important, an entire curriculum playing out. So we integrated if LinkedIn, also a resume plot aspect to the platform, so as to, incite market people to the possibility of creating a service, even where they're not experts. So this resume database will allow people to put in their interest. Interests don't have to be professional or expert. It can be anything. I can climb a tree, allowed. I can code in the jungle, allowed. No reservations, exercise all freedom. This way we are taking cognizance of anyone. Every human is of value, regardless of your levels of expertise, your levels of literacy, and all of that. Powerful. This way, people will have restored confidence in their abilities to build a dream. Confidence that they didn't have once before because they've been labeled ordinary, non-experts, illiterates, developing, third world. This way, we dispel the notion, the barriers present in today's world, courtesy of the existence of nations. We make nations merely locations. That is very powerful on its own in terms of removing barriers. These things affect the entire globe and its evolution. Where some are labeled developing, for example, programmers, where regardless of their knowledge base, they're called, maybe a programmer from India is called third world programmer. Then how can he excel? How will you pay him the same thing as you would pay someone in the West? How will you build an enterprise model that considers everyone when these distinctions exist in a world of humans? So bringing us to the third enterprise, macro hard. Macro hard, of course, there's an existence of Microsoft. We want to complement that with macro hard, or make use of down-to-earth paradigms, legitimate illiteracy dynamics, and build a programming protocol that anyone can code in, removing all barriers to entry from the world of coding. To do this, you also have to dispel the notion of developing and developed. Make nations merely locations. These things are inculcated into the algorithms, and suddenly everyone can code. Because what exactly is code, and is it very complex? People today want to become programmers, and as they excel in their programming knowledge base, they begin to attain godlike status. They call themselves geeks and become gods, lose out on their humanhood. We can restore humanhood to that field, make people about coding with swag, make people capable of coding even in the jungle, the jungle as well as the office. Then the world of coding starts to rank great. Create an innovation that emanates broader programmers, people that will be passionate about you, courtesy of the fact that you're human, be passionate about helping you in the process of building your dream amidst all odds, because they are grinders, they're hustlers, they will bear your consequences. That's the dynamics that guards them. Brother, humanity being the brother next to you, So that's the third enterprise, macro art, because an ever missing piece of the puzzle when it comes to dream building, especially in today's world, is programming. Programming is an essential ingredient, at the very least, just the beauty of seeing visuals of your dream, whether it turns into nothing, is very powerful, even in terms of inspiration. even in terms of inciting further innovation. So this is where programming comes in, and the world of programming has many barriers today. It deters many dreams from building, attaining reality. Even in the process of negotiating with programmers, there's a missing piece there, especially for non-programmers who are project owners. The ability to negotiate, maintain relationship with programmers. There's a barrier there. So the enterprise model for macro art simply removes this barrier. I want to keep the video short, it's becoming too long, so we'll conclude the video here. So these are some enterprises that I have created, including Legitimate Illiteracy, an entire school. So we integrate the human factor in all these innovations. Stare about new kinds of innovation, one that returns value to human, and reward each activity, each evolution that is stared by these platforms. Reward it. So we created a digital currency. It's called teardrops. However, a digital currency that has more essence than just a regular digital currency. A digital currency with a prayer. A digital currency that is an emblem of human, relatable to by anyone. One that can enter the mainstream just on the sole fact that each human sheds tears. Ones that plays at a curriculum that dispels the notion that tears is associated with sadness or discomfort and should be run away from in pursuit of happiness. Create a digital currency and use it to reward each activity on the platform that enables humans to evolve, but associating a dynamic as well where this currency rewards even past tiers, because on these platforms the primary reward is evolution of human. The reward in terms of a currency is secondary. So bring about a dynamic that also allows the digital currency to reward past deeds. So a deed you did 1 year ago may be rewarded today. Use blockchain technology to adjust mentality instead of blockchain technology just as a reward distributor. This adds a dynamic to blockchain technology that ranks it great. It gives more testimonial to blockchain technology also as a tool that can be applied towards evolution in human. So the digital currency is one that should succeed whether bulls or bears, because humans are involved. All the platforms will make use of an oracle. If it does make use of an oracle, then the oracle will be allowed to have flaws. If it does make use of a list, it will be a gray list instead of a black or white list. When it comes to a paper, it's a colorless paper, neither black or white. Now, the digital currency teardrops, use it to reward each human activity, that occurs on these platforms that constitute their evolution. Celebrate each human with some teardrop. Each human effort towards their evolution, celebrate it. This way you're celebrating the tears, you're celebrating each human, returning value to human. Give each human, a feeling of ownership. Restore that value to them. Then there's something I wanted to say but I forgot. Yes, so basically all the teardrops token does is reward evolution in human. Reward things like mentality, forgiveness, untalentedness, along with talent, mentality, swag, spirit. For example, like on a content platform where there is voting, like down votes and up votes, where someone, instead of down voting someone who, let's say use the word troll, like is so, hyped in today's world as a sin, as a crime, but the person, instead of retaliating with a down vote, decides to forgive, reward that. So that's very powerful. That's very powerful. Yes, then many activities like that. The whole platforms are modeled to steer this, you know, all the algorithms are written for this sole purpose. So you get my gist. This way, yes, it's just beautiful. In reality, we'll be fixing the tears with some teardrops. I'd like to stop here because the video is approaching 1 hour long. It's getting dark, and gosh, and I'm in pains and tired and all that. But I'm your boy Terry. If you want further explanation on this, please contact me. If you want me to help you with your projects, you know, give you insights courtesy of legitimate illiteracy, how to evolve your project. You know, you're going through an ordeal, I can help. You know, you're looking for the ever missing piece of your puzzle, I can help. Please just contact me. Underneath this is my email. An entire read about me, a 70-minute read as well, is underneath. Please read. Whenever you read, however, apply your spirit and your being, and you know, you'll be able to connect with me on that level and understand my gist. You know, this is not about perfect grammar. You know, it's more about the context, but you'll get the gist where you apply your spirit and being, because that's where I am at currently. I break down to pop out these words with so much love for you. You know, that's the meaning of your boy Terry. The meaning of your boy Terry is removing all barriers to entry from everything good, so that everything good becomes available to anyone. You know, fixing the rarity in the great men industry. Where we fix this rarity, we surpass Google. Everyone has greatness, you know, most times just untapped or beaten into redundancy. You know, it's time to restore that. Surpassing Google is also about abating half-humanism and hand-to-mouthism. And one course to that is revealing knowledge of legitimate literacy, so that knowledge can be made whole, balanced. You know, this way your mind's eye attains more spanlessness, and you have knowledge becomes more decentralized, available to anyone. You know. So thank you for being here. I'm your boy Terry. I love you. Read about me. I have a 17-minute publication written about me underneath in the description. Please read it. Support me. My recent goal is to create a hub or a center where I can gather people, you know, especially programmers, and you know, build my projects further. I'm ill, my dad is ill, I take care of him 24/7, and I need this also for my rehabilitation in health and all that. So please support me, my Patreon, please support it. I'm your boy Terry, and also contact me, feel free. You know, that's very powerful in itself. You know, we're unordinary. You know, let's leave these things. We're unordinary. I'll value your handshake, patting me on the back, you know, your inspirational messages, your teardrops. Just integrate a prayer into it. Jehovah keeps this thing in the skin bottle. He is love. I'm your boy Terry. Make sure to stay awesome. So perhaps we'll wait for this to get to 1 hour long. Let's just you know, experiment that. So we have like around 1 minute, and what more can I say? Yes, I'm your boy Terry, whether bulls or bear. That is a constant. That is the significance of the name surpassing Google. You know, I really care. I go into a state of isolation. I do time, you know, so that I can tap into insights relevant to world adjustment, very spiritual stuff. You know, after stage of undergoing the very harsh turmoils of this, you know, suffering, discomfort, and in a bid to translate these things into things of good, insight began to arrive from above in stages. And that's how all these things became built. It's not of my knowledge. The main essence of all these innovations in the long run is to redirect people, the entire globe, to the Creator Jehovah, you know, by creating innovations that incite them to evolve of their human. This way they reconnect with the image of the Creator, and are retold of the existence of a supreme being who is love. So this is a very spiritual escapade, and I undergo a lot of battles. I'm your boy Terry. Stay awesome. 1 hour.